was this sequence. Ball stumbled. Windler had it.
I'll give it back.
Ball's got it.
No, I'm going to take it back.
Advantage Dylan Windler.
I already know what a lot of you guys are going to say. The moment you even click on this video, the moment you even hear the very first words coming out of my mouth, y'all are all going to take to the comment section and say he's only played in one game. Stop overreacting. And although this might be a slight overreaction, I just can't help but feel like I'm sensing a ton of similarities between Lonzo Ball and LaMelo Ball in their rookie years. I've seen the exact same struggle with Lonzo Ball, and it seems like both Lonzo and LaMelo have had the same exact problem from the moment they stepped onto an NBA court. And this is just strictly judging by the small sample size of games I've seen from them so far. So what's going on, guys? Your boy Mike here, and before we get to the content, I just wanted to let you guys know we are 14,000 subscribers away from the 500,000 subscriber mark. So if you could take a moment to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications, that'd be greatly appreciated. And of course, check us out on Twitter and Instagram. Now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Guys, last night LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier both combined to score 42 points in LaMelo Ball's NBA debut. The problem with that is the fact that LaMelo Ball had 0 points and Terry Rozier had 42 of those points. And while I was watching, once again, I saw a lot of similarities to the issues that he had in the preseason, and they were carrying on to his rookie year. A lot of the same issues that plagued Lonzo Ball in his debut were also beginning to affect LaMelo. I know what a lot of you guys might be thinking. Why does LaMelo Ball generate this type of hype? Well, LaMelo had a very tumultuous path to the NBA, and the fact that he's Lonzo's brother and LeVar's son also got him a ton of fame and notoriety. You have to bear in mind, this guy has had cameras on him for the past 5 years, ever since he was a little kid playing basketball for Chino Hills with his brothers. His dad even called him the best out of all of his sons. And that's not to say that LaMelo Ball doesn't have a ton of potential. He's a 6'7" guard, while technically 6'8" according to the Charlotte Hornets, with a great ability to handle the ball and a remarkable ability to create plays for his teammates. Very similar to his brother Lonzo. And once again, we got even more evidence of that throughout the small sample size of preseason games and regular season games so far. Now, I know what you guys might be thinking. If you're telling me, Mike, you can't judge a prospect based off of their preseason performance in their first game in the NBA, well, if he's underperforming in the preseason, then what are you going to expect him to do when it's the regular season and the games significantly intensify? That's like saying a player is going to play poorly during the regular season, but he's going to really turn it up for the playoffs, which is something that a lot of NBA veterans do, like Rajon Rondo, but this is a little different. We're talking about the development of a basketball player. The first thing I was worried about when he was coming into the NBA was how consistent would that jump shot be? We all had this idea that LaMelo Ball would be a remarkable three-point shooter just because we saw him call the fact that he was going to make a half-court shot and score 91 points when he was a young kid. But I knew from the beginning that he was a very subpar, maybe even a bad three-point shooter. In 12 games played for Illawarra, he attempted 6.7 threes per game, almost 7 threes per game. He was able to convert on 25% of those threes. And this is in the Australian League, bear in mind. He was able to still score 17 points per game. He still was able to dish out assists, but shooting was never something he was really good at. But here's the thing that I thought was very promising. He still was able to convert on 72% of his free throws when he attempted 4 free throws a game. Now, you might be thinking, why is that so important? Well, let me let you in on a little secret that I picked up while learning how to scout NBA players and NBA prospects over the years, because that's kind of how I started my foray into basketball content. a NBA player's ceiling for converting from the three-point line is typically predicated by their ability to shoot free throws. A good example of this is Markelle Fultz in college. You see, in college, Markelle Fultz had a remarkable three-point percentage. He was able to convert 41% of his threes off of 5 three-pointers attempted. However, his free throw percentage was a measly 65%. Typically, this indicates what the player's ceiling is for developing their jump shot. So what I'm seeing so far in LaMelo Ball's career is pretty much what I expected from him at this point of his career. In every game he's played so far, he was able to convert 6 out of 25 of his threes, which is just about 20% of his threes. He doesn't have the frame to really drive in and finish strong at the basket either, so that takes away from his game as well, which pretty much essentially leaves you with a player that's a 6'7" Rajon Rondo, which you might be thinking I'm taking a slight at LaMelo Ball, but that's not the purpose of this video at all. The purpose of this video is to give you realistic expectations for LaMelo Ball's rookie season, because he also has things that you cannot coach and things that the average player doesn't have. You see, I made a video on Lonzo Ball the other day, and it's a video I really recommend that you guys go out and watch because both LaMelo and Lonzo are so similar, it's absolutely terrifying. Both of them needed work on their jump shot, although LaMelo's wasn't nearly as unorthodox as Lonzo's. Both of them had a tremendous ability to create plays for their teammates, but not so much of a tremendous ability to convert at the perimeter or convert from mid-range, let alone finish at the basket. However, both had the potential to do so if they added more muscle on their frame because they already had NBA bodies. They already were 6'6" and 6'7" respectively. So if they were to add muscle to their frames, they'd be absolute matchup nightmares. Both players' lives completely revolve around their abilities to play basketball. Ever since they were little kids, their dad, LeVar, who is a trainer, has been preparing them to play basketball, which also contributes to the fact that they have a relentless motor and a relentless work ethic. Now, I understand that's a very opinionated, pseudo-sciencey thing to say, especially from an NBA YouTuber. And at first, I would take anyone that says a player has a relentless motor with a grain of salt. But here's a beautiful example of what I'm talking about. Lonzo Ball got traded from the Los Angeles Lakers to the New Orleans Pelicans, and he went from being the player that was supposed to be the next Magic Johnson, apparently, for his hometown team, to a player that was essentially bundled with a bunch of other promising players to be shipped off to the New Orleans Pelicans. When he was shipped off to the New Orleans Pelicans, he immediately began working with Fred Vinson to change his jump shot. And at that point, even then, he marginally got better at the very least. He would go on and have a remarkable March before the NBA had to pause before the pandemic, and then he would come back once again in the bubble and underperform entirely. After the bubble, he would go back into the lab, work on his jump shot even further. It looks beautiful, by the way. And last night, he scored 16 points, converted 50% of his threes while attempting 8 threes, dished 2 assists, and grabbed 5 rebounds. Most importantly, his field goal percentage went up tremendously to 44%. And it took Lonzo Ball 3 years to get to this point. By the way, Lonzo Ball is 23 years old at this point, whereas LaMelo Ball is just 19 years old. So what am I trying to tell you guys here? Well, it's very simple. LaMelo Ball is extremely raw. I don't care what anybody has been telling you so far. He is a ridiculously raw prospect. He possesses traits that the average basketball player doesn't. You can't teach a player basketball IQ or a natural feel for the game. You can't teach a player work ethic. That's just something they naturally need to have. But another thing that's working against LaMelo Ball is he's on a team where he can't even execute his best strength fully by himself. When you're on a team with other promising guards like Terry Rozier and Devontae Graham, and you also have Malik Monk, who's technically also a point guard, it's very difficult to come in your very first year and say, hey, let me create plays for everybody else. And unfortunately for LaMelo Ball, that's how the Charlotte Hornets are setting him up for failure. He's not able to flex the one skill that he's the greatest at already doing, which is his ability to create plays for his teammates. Now, for those of you guys that are looking at the fact that he scored 0 points last night, of course he scored 0 points last night. He only played 15 minutes. But what I'm trying to tell you guys is if you are patient with LaMelo Ball and allow him to develop properly the way you allowed Lonzo Ball to develop properly, while a bunch of you guys also went out and called him a draft bust prematurely, then I'm sure he's going to surprise you. And honestly, I think every player should be given at least 3 to 4 years to develop fully before you jump into conclusions like this. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think about LaMelo Ball? What do you think about his debut? Do you think he's going to be a bona fide superstar or a bona fide bust? Do you think the Charlotte Hornets made a mistake by taking him number 3 overall? Because personally, I think they did. I think they should have potentially went after a player like Denny Avdia or a player that would have fit into their offense a little bit better, because they already have a ton of guards and aren't in a position to develop another one. Nevertheless, LaMelo Ball's name is so famous in the NBA community that his name would sell tickets in of itself. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. Aside from that, I'm your boy, TheFlightMike, and I want to wish you guys all a Merry Christmas.